And welcome to a VSA Capital video blog, and delighted to have back on again Thomas Abraham James, the CEO and President of Pulsar Helium. Hi there, Tom. How are you?
Very well, Andrew. Nice to see you in this new year.
Yep. And let's start with the new year. You've actually had a pretty good start of the year. I think you're up about 26% so far. We've only had 2 weeks, so you can't be unhappy. There's probably, I think, two factors that are driving that are worth talking about. But let's start with the core asset that's probably driving it, which is results. And results recently have obviously been from Jetstream 5 that have been really, really good. But just talk us through sort of results and where you are currently with the Topaz project.
Certainly. Well, look, it's been, a good festive period for us and beginning of the new year. I mean, perhaps the moral of the story is I need to go on holiday more often, and then the company seems to get more attention. But no, look, we've been carrying through with the drill program, and I think that's certainly one of the key drivers at Topaz is that we're now at Jetstream number 5. We announced that there's been numerous gas zones hit with that particular well. And we've now got a 100% strike rate with our drilling to date and identifying gas. So I think that's really resonated. There was the Helium-3 announcement as well, not long before Christmas. And then this year, I mean, really after the drilling, it's all resource update, economics, and so on. So, pretty consistent news flow, and really proud of the team for executing the work program perfectly.
As you say, all your drilling has been very successful, but can you somehow, for maybe people who don't completely understand helium, explain just how good these results are? I mean, is there a sort of a simplistic way, a helium drilling for beginnings type answer? I mean, that says, actually, let's put it, if you said, this is like an oil well and we've just hit, 100 million barrels or something. Is there anything like that you can put this into comparison so that people can realize that actually this really is incredibly valuable?
Yeah, look, there are a couple of metrics we can use. I mean, firstly, with the hitting the gas, it comes up naturally. So conventional, you don't have to stimulate the gas. So it's like opening up a soda can type thing. So there's that. So, and what we've been announcing is that whilst drilling, we've hit pressure. So at the bottom of the hole, the hole is filled with fluid, and then all of a sudden you hit gas, and that's pushing the fluid up. And based on that, you can do a calculation about what the pressure looks like. And what we found is that the more drilling we do, the higher pressure we're seeing in the wells, and that should have very positive reflection on the reservoir, and hopefully also with the flow rate. So there's that. But in terms of going to the value question, you're looking at a commodity which is worth a lot more than, say, natural gas. And so a metric that's quite straightforward to use is, okay, so when you get a flow rate, and then you multiply that by the concentration of the helium that's in there, that'll give you a very rough feel about what is the production capability of that well. When you look at, say, natural gas being something like, I don't know, $2.50 a unit, and then you look at helium being, say, $500 or more per unit, then really the difference between, say, a natural gas well and a high concentration helium well like we've seen in Topaz is that instead of making, say, 20% on your well, which is quite good for natural gas or indeed oil, then with helium, certainly it looks to be that there's a lot more return on your capital investment than that. The margins certainly could be a lot bigger.
I mean, obviously, one of the big conversations going on at the moment is this sort of bull market for commodities. Everyone always debates, is helium a mining commodity or an oil and gas commodity, but ignoring all that for now. But we are in this era where prices are going crazy because countries are realizing they've got to have this resource, and that really does apply to you as helium. And again, there is no sort of spot price for helium really. It's done on long-term contracts basically. But how is the price of helium basically performing at the moment? Are you seeing part of this commodity bull market, stick with yourselves as well?
Yeah, look, helium's very opaque. There's no doubt about it. So really, you don't see a new pricing point until a new contract has been announced publicly, which is not that common. But you do see that there is the occasional spot purchase out there. And then some of the listed companies are announcing their contracts. So not long ago, there was a contract announced by a company, and they announced that they were getting, was it $525 per 1,000 cubic feet for helium, and that's in the USA. That's quite healthy. And what we see is very regionalized as well. Helium doesn't like to be transported; it likes to leak. So that's why domestic markets, and you see different pricing points. But there's production out of Russia. That's not going to be going across to the USA anytime soon, by the looks of things. So that is going into the Asian market. The USA has got its own production. There's production in Canada as well. But what we're seeing in the US is that production's declining. So that aging gas fields and so on. So having a new source such as what we have, we could certainly see as being advantageous. But then there's also different types of helium. So most of the helium is produced as a byproduct of natural gas. So if you look at the semiconductor companies or the space rocket companies, if they want more helium than their contract allows, then they would have to, the producer would need to then produce more natural gas. Now, what happens with that? Do you deflate the price of natural gas? Do you flare it off? Whereas for us, it's the primary commodity, bit like a flywheel in the system. And that's what really makes our project special, is that we could hopefully fill in any gaps that may be there or increase in demand.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's all actually very positive, as you say. It's heading in the sort of right direction, and it's not as if an event can occur that is likely to be a black swan event and knock you off course either. I mean, we're dealing with quite long-term situations here, and it's not like, if somebody suddenly invades, when Russia invaded Ukraine and the gas price obviously spiked up then, but I mean, that wouldn't occur like quite the same way as in helium. You're going to have a much steadier sort of progress, aren't you?
Well, you can, but then if one of the major natural gas producers goes down, so the second largest helium production is in the Middle East, in Qatar. We saw that years ago that they were embargoed, and that meant that the helium price spiked up yet again. So we do see these, it's quite funny, the helium industry, they talk about in the past 10, 15 years, helium shortage 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like, well, that's a pretty short period of time, 15 years, and already you're talking about multiple helium shortages. So it seems to be quite a consistent trend that there's a bit of a shortage. And with the natural gas too, like, if a plant goes down for maintenance, even for a month, then all of a sudden you're looking at, a shortage of helium. And there's only about 6 major helium production plants. So there's really a lack of diversity there for supply. So for us, there's very much a place for Pulsar and this new discovery we've made in the US.
So the good news is if there's a black swan event, it's going to be positive, not negative. So that's the good news. Now, look, something else obviously is probably attracted a little bit of attention to Pulsar Helium at the start of this year, and that is, of course, you've got the Tunu, if I pronounce that correctly. My Greenlandic native tongue isn't necessarily there, shall we say. But that obviously is a huge project you've got potentially in Greenland, and the attention is focused on Greenland at the moment. Do you want to just, we don't often talk about that part of the business, but suddenly it's become quite interesting. Do you want to just have a little chat about that?
Yeah, it's certainly become very topical at the moment, but look, we've made good progress. I mean, really, we've been putting most of our efforts on the Topaz Project in USA, only because it's more advanced. But what we've found with Tunu is that indeed there is primary helium there, so that's great. One of very few helium occurrences in Europe. It's also associated with geothermal heat. So we had Sproul ERCE conduct a pre-feasibility study on the co-production of geothermal energy and helium. And so, it's really a very neat project. So, look, we're looking to move that one forward, most definitely. But certainly with, Greenland, for better or worse, being in the news so much recently, it has really shone a spotlight on it. But all I can say is that certainly with the current circumstances, we have the first helium license in Greenland. The Mining Act there is very clear. It's very advanced for mineral projects in Greenland. And we've certainly been able to go about our business very well under the Greenlandic regulations. So I've always, I first started working there in 2008 in Greenland. And it's always been, I would call it a privilege to work there.
Let's just sort of wrap up a little bit. As I said, this will be quite a short sort of update. News flow coming up. I mean, you've got various, I think, bits of news flow in Q1 and Q2 that can obviously always help a share price. Do you want to just talk through the sort of news flow that you're expecting in the next couple of quarters?
Yeah, so this month we've got a seismic survey starting up. We'll have then the results from that, I'd imagine, sometime in February, maybe March, but they'll be coming out. Drilling is continuing, so we're just about to finish Jetstream 5, and so then we'll be moving on to number 6, which is also quite a considerable step out from the previous wells. Then at the end of this month, we'll then have the flow testing equipment coming out. We'll be flow testing these new wells that we've drilled. We'll also be taking samples and sending those off to laboratories as well to determine the concentration of helium and indeed helium-3 and CO2 as well. So all some things that can potentially be solved. Once the drill program ends, that'll probably be sometime in Q2. We'll then be looking at a resource update. Now, previous resource was only predicated on the results of half a well, and now we're looking at having a minimum of 5 added to that. So with any luck, that'll be a positive change to the resource. And then we start talking about economics. What does production look like? Are we there? Are we not? What needs to be done to realize that? And then, constantly out there looking at new opportunities for land acquisitions as well. So we've completed 2 of those towards the end of last year. And then, of course, with Tunu, we'll have activities there too in Greenland. And there's a bunch of other things as well. So it really is going to be quite thick and fast. We've got a lot going on at the moment.
And I think Chart Industries is going to start sort of giving you initial plant designs, aren't they? Which then starts to really bring it to life. Will you have any form of news you can report on that coming up?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as, really with them, considering the success that we've had with the wells that we've been drilling, and with all the pressure that we've hit there in the gas, it really is prudent to make sure that we give them these additional data points so they're not doing it just off one well. And so with the data that we'll be getting from this flow testing, so most of that will be coming in next month, it will all be shared with Chart. And then with any luck, whenever we get the results, we'll be sharing that with the market. So that'll be a big one too.
Sounds like we've got an exciting 6 months coming up, which is fantastic. Tom, thanks for doing this. It's a really useful update for people. It's in many ways, it's quite a simple story, and the news just keeps going well. So long may it last, and I'm sure we'll be speaking again. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks, mate. All right. Speak soon.